It's the Love of the Game podcast. I'm your host, Mondre Allen, and we doing late night. I got the fellas with me, man. Locks in the building, B Will in the building, Huff in the building.
What's up?
Gang. Hey man, we just watched episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance. By the way, welcome everyone. We are here. SUVtv is the platform. We're in the place to be. We just watched episode 3 and 4 of The Last Dance, fellas, and the Pistons. You gotta be a different type of dude to be able to play in a series like that. We're not talking about one game. We talking about like this is a series. You gotta play best of, what was it, 5 at that point, Huff?
Nah, it's still best of 7. Still best of 7. Still best of 7.
I thought it said 6.
Nah, still best of 7. First round when they played the Cavs was best of 5. So back then the first round was best of 5. Then you had best of 7.
Okay.
I thought it was 3 back then. 3, 5.
Nah, you going way back.
7 in the finals.
You going way back then.
I went too far back.
Yeah, you going.
I'm dating myself.
Yeah.
You going back and you going back to BC before Christ.
But
hey, I remember when first round used to be best of 3.
Yeah, you're right. Now you got to remember now, the Pistons took it to another level, but that was the NBA back then. You weren't getting down the lane without getting hit.
You're gonna get hit. This whole Pistons conversation is gonna be interesting. Coming on later, we'll have basketball analyst Rashad Phillips of Sports Talk 2319. He's got a show also, No Agendas, with Kendrick Perkins. So he's gonna come on and talk about his love for the Bulls, but also why Isaiah Thomas is the greatest small man to ever play the game and how he impacted the Bulls' run. So
now I'm pretty sure he'll mention he's the only person that beat Bird, Michael, and Magic in a prime. I'm pretty sure he's gonna say that.
Sure,
that's a resume. That's a resume.
Hey, Zeke was nice now, but you do realize that walking off the floor caused him more harm than good, more than he even realized at that time.
Yo, so when I seen that tonight, it just reminded me of ANU teams in the summertime. Talking about the court. I've seen so many teams walk off the court before the buzzer ends.
What it need to remind you of is why that man went on that 92 Olympic team.
Hey, Huff, that's why I made that face when you said that. Because when you talk about him being impacted more than that he could realize at that time, not being on that dream team was a big deal, bro.
Yeah.
Like that team, you know, that team got cemented in a much different way, and him not being a part of it, which I wasn't right, man. He deserved to be a part of that team. But
hey man, when you controlling the NBA at that time, you were the man. He had the last say.
Facts. That's facts.
I mean, you got if you want to go back, I know we supposed to be talking about the show a little bit, but Isaiah's not on that team, and you know who else is not on that team, right?
Big Shaq ain't on that team.
Big Shaq ain't on the team. Now, what they said is that they didn't need another big man like that.
Whatever. The most dominant force we've ever seen.
But Leitner did kill Shaq now. They were both college players, so.
Yes, he did.
He did. So I'm just letting you know that at least there's an argument there. At least there's an argument.
Hey, you gotta have a college. You gotta have a college kid on the team. You gotta have.
We talk about motivation for players. Maybe that was Shaq's motivation because he
everything got to motivate you, man. Everything. Like I can before you like I can take when they said they lost that game and they didn't go on vacation. I can remember back when we lost in the state championship and them guys, they were so motivated to get back.
I want to talk about let's get into before we're going to get into the Pistons and their impact in a second, especially after Rashad joins us. I want to talk about Dennis Rodman for a little bit.
I don't understand that.
We always talk about playing hard is a skill. Hey, I keep telling y'all,
baby.
I keep telling y'all. Hey, we got Brazil checking in. I keep telling y'all we got international listeners.
Hey,
gang.
Gang.
Gang. We got international listeners. You know what I'm saying? I keep telling y'all, bro. I keep calling out all of them cities and countries overseas listen to our stuff. And y'all don't be feeling me. Dennis Rodman, man, playing hard is a skill, bro.
It is a skill that a lot of kids right now don't even know about.
I think that the first thing that I saw was
that's the best picture ever.
They're gonna make
facts.
They're gonna make somebody or kids want to be like Dennis now. Like
I hope so. I hope so.
Most definitely, yeah.
I saw him, and I remember watching him as a kid and just watching it just now. He used to do those rebounds, and he would kick his leg out, or he would just.
Hey,
they're gonna start rebounding like that. They're gonna like own class and think it's cool again.
You know who's gonna do that? And he's already doing it.
Robbie.
Yeah. Robbie, 100%. Robbie and Brewster for those who are listening to this show
who decides
outside of Georgia. Yeah, Robbie and Brewster is a kid you can go watch right now.
Facts, Sylvester. Now, I mean, Leighton was but going back to Rodman, like there was three things that stood out. They said he was a pest defensively, like just get up in you and just defend. Like kids, come man, who's gonna do that? Who's gonna impact the game without scoring? And then lastly, like I hope we don't overlook this part. You know, I had to take my notes, man. You know, I didn't have my notebook. You know, since we quarantined, Andre, so I had to use my phone.
You have your notebook at the school?
Yeah, it's at the school, man. Unfortunately, man.
Hey, Huff is lost without that notebook. Holy innocence, y'all better open up the school just for a minute and let my boy disinfect his whole office and go in there and get that notebook.
Hey, man, I got like 81 notes, like, because I don't have my notebook since quarantine started on my phone. So they said Dennis Rodman would go to the gym with his friends to rebound their shots. To learn that rebound the angles. Do you know that's a basketball IQ move right there?
That was amazing.
Sure.
That was the most that was the best part of it to me. It was just like the fact that this dude is studying how the ball comes out of your hand and off the rim.
He studied the game, man. Him and Phil would watch the game. He would study the game. That's what a lot of these kids now don't understand. And I hope they're doing it now because they have more time. Study the game. Like study not just your players now. Go back and study the game. You know, I ain't gonna call nobody names who didn't know who was on that Cavs team. We ain't gonna call them out, Locke.
Who? Spivey.
Who really on that Spivey?
Like he don't know who Mark Price is, man. Come on, man.
Hey,
Brad
I just knew Mark Price.
Larry Nance. Wrong.
No, that doesn't surprise
Larry Nance. I forgot about Larry.
Spivey was talking about Scottie couldn't guard couriers. What was it?
I'm
my boy said some off the wall stuff, man.
I usually don't say nothing, but I had to come in, man. I had to come in on Twitter. I was trying to watch the show.
That must have been, speaking on SUV's question, that had to be the worst coaching of all time.
Y'all do know who the coach was, right?
Hey, listen. So for those who are listening, man, SUV's question is thoughts on Elo guarding Jordan on the last possession instead of Ron Harper. Coach Huff, where do we rank this in regards to coaching mistakes? Ooh. And is this right up there with Rick Pitino not guarding the inbounds against Duke and Christian Laettner?
But you know what? I can take that one better.
Yeah.
But the one I mean, what did Ron Harper say?
He said,
I mean BS.
So real talk, you've been in some wars, coach, and you've had some prideful guys that you've coached. Have you called a set before or called a play and one of your guys like, hey man, coach, no, that's me. And how do you handle that?
And you listen to it, because the day they're adamant about it, then we're gonna ride with it. But you gotta have that trust, man. You gotta have that trust. And I think I know we're gonna talk about it a little bit later. I think that's what set the Bulls apart from Doug Collins to Phil Jackson. The trust became more evident, even though we're talking about the Cavs and Lenny Wilkins, who unfortunately coached my Hawks during the time when they traded Dominique Wilkins. So he deserves everything he gets for making that bad call to tell Elo to guard him. Don't get me started on Lenny Wilkins, man.
I want to go back to Rodman for a second, because I feel like when we talk about Dennis Rodman, somehow people think that playing defense and rebounding was all that Rodman can do.
No.
That's not true. Rodman could score.
Go back and look at those Detroit Pistons days. He could score.
Mm-hmm.
He actually said it during the show. He was basically like, I found out or figured out what I could do best.
Yes.
He looked at his game and was like, what is my elite skill? And I'm gonna master this skill. And this is gonna solidify me, right, as one of the best players of all time. I'm gonna
he realized that. Like, and that's a lot of times, like, everybody thinks I gotta score. That's how I'm gonna get noticed. That's how we gonna no, find your role. He knew what his role was, and he bought into it.
The thing that's so intriguing about Dennis Rodman is the fact that he had these circumstances that he grew up in that were pretty tough, and he's able to conceptualize these things on the basketball court that we probably wouldn't even have thought about. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
Sure.
That's the most crazy thing. It's like, okay, I need to work on my rebounding. I need to make sure the ball comes this way. I need to make, you know what I'm saying? It's like all these things that a lot of people don't even think about in today's age. It's like that dude,
he would go to the gym at 3 a.m. in the morning to get his boys to shoot so he could get that, so he could learn how to get the angles of the rebound. Yeah. Did you hear him talking about the spin of the basketball? Like Bird spent this way, Magic spent this way, Jordan, I'm gonna have to get to the front of the man.
He had it down to a science, man.
Yeah.
He mastered his craft. He was somebody, and you saw that theme throughout, right? Guys that were serious about their craft and mastering their craft, whether it was, in the last episodes where we saw MJ, you're becoming the greatest player ever, one of the greatest scorers, even early on, right? Mm-hmm. It was people that was like, yo, this guy's the best player around. Locked in, dog. When his coach was talking to him, he was locked in. Serious.
Just look at it. Did you see that bench interaction? I know at that time they were talking about how when Scottie was gone, Dennis was like, him and Michael got tighter. But that interaction, they were talking about when Oakley screens you, then he veers off and we got to check him. Then we got to do this. We just going to switch on it. Like, just that knowledge and that basketball IQ that they could talk through and work those things out. That's not a coach telling them that.
I think that's one thing too, man. We try to get players today to talk, and that communication, like you said, that they have going back and forth about the game. I think young players got to understand your coaches will give you more leeway when you're talking about winning.
Your coaches will give you more leeway if you can pick out and you don't watch that film enough to know what's going to happen.
Facts. We got Angela asking about he accepted his role to be a beast on defense, and then how many teams would buy into the triangle offense today? I think that's a tough question because of how the game is played.
I think that if you can teach the triangle offense and you know it, and you can get kids to buy into it, I mean, I don't see it's like any other offense. You know what I mean? I mean, if you can get kids to buy into it, they'll probably do it but again, you got to be able to teach it. And you saw when he said there's 33 different options off of one pass. So
do you really get a lot of the same threes and the driving kick type actions out of that? Will kids buy into playing that way today?
They could, but you gotta listen to what Phil and them said and what BJ. It took them a year to get it. Like, so if you can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna run a triangle offense" because this week it floats your boat. You gotta say you're gonna stick with it. Now, and I can tell you somebody that ran a triangle offense in high school and was very successful with it. Southwest Atlanta Christian. Dwight Howard, Javars Crittenton, them. Shout out to Courtney Brooks. They ran it.
And But I mean, like I said, to me, it's a little different than if you're like running the basic flex and you know where you got to cut and pass after each movement. That's it would take time for your kids to read.
It's still based off some read and react stuff. If you really think about it, okay, I catch the ball here. How am I going to read and react based on what the defense is doing to me? So again, you got to be students of the game. You got to understand, okay, if the defender does this, what am I going to do? If his man goes and does this, how am I going to react to that? You got to read and react. So it's based on some principles that you can still use even in today's game. I think it actually could be successful.
I don't think that I would necessarily try to run that or install that with high school kids, though. I'm not sure if that answers her question.
It depends. It depends.
Maybe variations of it, like you're saying, but I don't think that would be like my go-to, like my bread. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if it will work. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Oh wow, Phil Jackson got a whole episode breaking down the triangle offense on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Or if you can find anything with Tex Winter, he can do it. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, I tried to run it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you, I tried to run it when Malik and Kaiser were freshmen.
How did it go?
I couldn't stick with it because I didn't know it like the back of my hand.
You gotta know it. Yeah.
And you gotta know it. Like, and I went in Herb Sendek, who used to be at NC State, Arizona State. They ran it. I spent time with him to try to run it. And we did it till about December, man. I scrapped it because I didn't know enough. You can't teach players to do something that you don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it well enough to be like, all right, this is your read off. This is what you got to do. And I spent time with Courtney Brooks. So it may not be for you, but can it work? Yeah, it can work.
It can work. I just like Huff said, I think it's a harder offense than we know to like.
It is.
It's not something that you can just pick up in a day or two as a.
It's like the Princeton offense. You're not gonna just pick that up and say I'm gonna run that.
Is that back to kind of what we talked about in our earlier episode, where we said that we were talking about the turnover at the college level at this point with all the transfers, and at the high school level, is it that you really don't? We're so busy incorporating young players into our game that you don't have the time to pick up an offense as intricate as
you're right. Think about Courtney Brooks had those kids for the long. I mean, he had them coming up, so they were probably learning before they got to high school.
Yeah. Is it a talent IQ thing with that offense, or is it a time and effort thing? Is the motion offense easier to learn, you think?
You said the motion offense?
I think with motion, you get more. Okay, if this happens, then you do this. Exactly. Instead of, well, you can do this or you can do this.
Gotcha. Okay, got you.
Yeah. So I do think if you have some players that are around for a while, you know, you've got those guys from middle school through high school, like if they coming up to your feeder program and you can teach them that.
Yeah.
I think it was big hearing about MJ accepting that offense. Here he is coming off of an Eastern Conference Finals run, right? And I'm the man. I'm getting 50. I'm winning the dunk contest. I'm the MVP. And we're successful. We just lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to probably one of the best defensive teams ever. Yeah. How much motivation did he have to say, okay, I'm going to change to a new coach, and you're going to take the ball out of my hand, and I'm going to give it an honest go and allow you to do that?
They made it sound simple, but you also got to realize, I don't know if it was just that simple.
I don't think it went that easy, yeah.
He did say there's no INT, but there's an I and win.
and he had an argument because he is winning. So, I mean, again, Bryce, with AAU, bro, with the talent level that you've coached, those guys have been. Some of those guys have had a certain amount of sex before they get to you. How do you get a big time player to buy into a certain system?
Because at the end of the day, ultimately, we're here to try to win games, and everybody wants a winner. That's why we're watching this. You know what I mean? We watched it because Michael Jordan was a winner. He was the ultimate competitor. So if you have a group of 7 dudes who are all talented, but they're not winning, you're failing. You know what I mean? So it's like. And I think that's what he was like, well, okay, well, maybe I got to change up something. I mean, I'm doing all this stuff, but I got to get over the hump somehow. And it's the same way. You got to win at the end of the day.
I agree with you, Bryce. And that's, again, as much as he loved Doug Collins, he liked the competitiveness of Doug Collins. I think it goes back to that relationship.
Yeah.
Like, and he said, I didn't like, Phil Jackson at first. But I think what we selling Phil Jackson short of, everybody talks about, well, he coached talent. That's all he coached. Man, okay, coaching talent ain't easy now.
Hey, the people that he was dealing with, and that's the other message that was inside of this whole episode tonight. The people that he was managing were extremely difficult personalities.
You're right, Bryce. I think that relationship part is what we really saw from Phil during this.
We saw him give Dennis the leeway to go to Vegas and go to these things and clear his mind and come back. We saw him, you know what I mean? These are things that he probably had to deal with over the span of being their coach, which is very difficult because at the end of the day, we know, well, you need to come to practice. You need to do this. You need to do that.
Yep.
That wasn't the mold for them.
I think it also goes back to, that what Phil went through now. Okay, he won a championship as a player.
Yeah.
All right, he decides to go into coaching. He's coaching over there. He's talking about they putting chicken blood on the bench. The person shooting the referee, the official, so he went through some stuff in his coaching journey, man. And he had to have a relationship with Tex Winter to believe in that offense.
I wasn't expecting to get to this until later, but while we're here, and we're gonna get to Scottie Pippen. There are a lot of great Scottie Pippen comments in here, and we're gonna get to Scottie Pippen because you guys are right. He played a tremendous role, tremendous role in the Bulls being what they are. So I'm gonna get back to that. We're gonna get to Doug Collins and his role as well. But we want to talk about Phil Jackson for a second, and I want to talk about specifically though Phil's relationship. When you're talking about Phil's relationship with Scottie, I want to talk about Phil's relationship with the GM because it seems like the GM saw that Phil was the answer
to get him over the hump,
to get him over this hump 2 years before that Phil actually got hired.
Hold on. Go back before 2 years before. Remember, he tried to hire him with the other guy.
That's what I'm saying. Before he actually did hire him, he was trying to hire him before.
And what's crazy about that, before you go on, is that some people may say, man, did Phil, was he wrong for taking a job? You got to realize, man, that was going on a lot in the NBA back then.
100%.
Pat Riley. That was let's be real.
Now let's have some real conversation though. Do we think that Phil did any dirty macking to get that job? Was there any dirty macking involved when the GM comes to you and say, hey, I think Tex Winters is the greatest basketball mind that we have. You may want to sit with him. Was there any dirty macking on Phil's part?
Hey, take it like this. What did Doug Collins say? Did you think he was? I felt he may get the job. He wouldn't throw him under the bus, but he was like, I felt he may get the job.
Hey, now I'm going to ask a question that Huff may not want to answer. Have you been on a staff or been around where there was any dirty macking involved to get a head coaching job? Is that something that is frequently do?
All I would say is that young coaches support your head coach.
Don't
loyal.
Be dirty macking.
Be loyal.
All right. You get that, bro.
If you're a young coach and you don't agree with the triangle offense, but you on the staff,
go to the head coach and talk about it in private, man. Don't go to the parents. Don't go to the players, man. If I was coach, I would be doing this. Don't do that.
You dirty macking on your staff, G. So yes or no? Do we think Phil was dirty macking or no?
Hey, Marco said yes. Dirty macking.
I agree. Phil did some dirty macking to get that job, bro.
I mean, he was just playing the game.
The GM told him to go sit with this dude. You gonna do what the GM tell you? Yes, you are.
Yeah,
that's your boss, right?
Yeah, that's your boss.
Yeah,
that's your boss. Do you go?
It's like when the principal AD bring you in and say, "Listen, man, I'm grooming you for the job. What are you gonna do?"
Yo, hey, listen, when your homeboy's the head coach, but your homeboy's boss comes to you and is like, yo, I really think it should be you. Do you go down with your boy or do
you become Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick? Oh,
are we giving credit to Phil Jackson or Tex for being the genius behind the offense?
I think it's a combination of both. I think Tex, obviously back from 1960, was the architect of the triangle offense, but the fact of how Phil was able to believe in it and adapt it to what he had and get them to buy in, you got to give Phil credit too now.
I'm going to ask this question. Is Tex Winters the Scottie Pippen of coaching?
I mean, to me, honestly, I always think I'm going to give more credit to Phil Jackson because I always believe it's harder to actually
perform it, do it.
Yeah, to do it. Like,
I think
to design offense, we can probably sit around and design offense all day.
But I think Tex Winter goes in line with there are some people who are better as assistant coaches than they are head coaches. And he knew his role.
And I don't want to discount Tex Winters as just a designer of an offense either, because during the Doug Collins out period, right, he was demoted to just taking notes at practice. But it seemed like before then, he was a real integral part of practice and the way that they run things. So I don't want to just demote him to being an architect of an offense. For all we know, he was running practice every day.
Yeah, he might have been the man behind the scenes in the film room saying, look, I need Mike here, I need Scottie here, I need Dennis here. Like, we don't know, but
hey, I you know, that man may not get his just due. I don't know what he got paid. Maybe we should go look at his Lakers salary. I'm pretty sure about
does a salary matter?
I'm pretty sure he got a pretty
good. Hey, pay me, dog. Pay me what I'm worth. Pay me.
But you got to realize every part plays a piece. And Tex Winter was a piece of why they were able to win. And if you go back to it, maybe Phil saw, well, I'm weak. I need somebody else who's strong. And Tex was strong in this. I'm strong in relationships. We get it together. We make this thing go. And I got the most competitive best player in the game. Let's go get it.
My check plays a piece, and while I work so hard every day too, you're gonna have to pay me, bro.
Checks were different back then, bro. Let's be real. Checks were different back then.
No, I'm saying the Laker checks. Give me mine on the back end. We're gonna get another 3. You're gonna give me mine on the back end, bro. Like, did Phil ever win without Tex Winters?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did either.
No, I don't think so.
I think Tex Winters was there for that entire Lakers run as well.
Yeah.
That's his right-hand man, for sure.
Probably doesn't get his just due.
You got to know where your bread is buttered, baby.
like Huff said, though, if I'm the X's and O's guy and that's my job, that's what I'm really good at. That's our relationship. I'm okay. If I've accepted my role and we winning championships.
Facts.
When it comes down to it, you know what I mean? I'm still gonna get my speaking engagements. I'm still gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be out. It is what it is. So
in today's world, a lot of times ego gets in the way. And we may miss out on a dynasty if Tex Winters' ego got too big and it got in the way. And he decided, nope, I need to be the man in charge and the one in the lights.
I mean, we give a lot of credit to Tex Winter, but just there were a lot of good dudes on the Bull staffs now. Jim Clemens,
for sure,
who didn't have the success as a head coach when he got the head job. I think he coached the Mavericks with that Jimmy Jackson, Jamal Mashburn fiasco.
Bill Cartwright became a part of their staff after he
played. Yeah. Now I didn't know that until after he played. I never really was looking at their bench to say, "Oh, that's Bill Cartwright." But that obviously you see him a lot in his doc.
You can see the difference in the confidence in the coaching staffs too when they had Phil versus
Doug Collins.
I mean,
just Bryce, go to the fact when just get a ball to Mike and get out the way to Phil saying Paxson's open. Give him the ball.
Give him the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean his shirts like they showed his shirts are sweating out. He sweated out. He trying to get dubs versus Phil Jackson. They sitting down chilling. Like we trust our offense, we trust our defense. We know we got going on. This is the game plan.
You know what I go back to too, and it hasn't been talked about in the doc, but I think everybody knows this. Do you think Phil? We talk about their relationship part when he wore those J's on coaching.
I love that.
Did he? Don't think that indoctrinated him with MJ? Like, you know what? This is my dude. He gonna ride or die with me.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised we don't see coaches wearing the LeBron. I mean, like they might be. I don't know, but like that picture that they showed him wearing those fours, those retro fours. Come on, man.
I want to know and understand though too. When it comes to Phil, from a coaching standpoint, and you guys have coached, even you, Locke, have coached a lot of different, high level kids. Have y'all ever had a kid where like Phil had Dennis, where he understood I gotta let Dennis be Dennis, and he's gonna do some things different than the rest of the team from maybe a behavior standpoint or a discipline standpoint. I need to give him a little more rope. Did y'all ever have a kid where y'all had to do that, or Huff because it's high school, you had to kind of make them toe the line?
Man, I had to do that with Robbie with Atlanta Express. I let Robbie get away with a lot of stuff.
Look, I just use the words of Sherman White.
Is it talent or personality though, Locke?
It was a little both. His personality, where Robbie's the type of kid where he would do some dumb stuff where he would travel. He wouldn't know that he'd travel. He would pivot and square up and take 3 or 4 steps. And he would look at the ref like, yeah, you traveled. And the next 2-3 plays down, he'll get a key rebound, or he'll score, or he'll make a stop. So Robbie always had a big leeway with me. And I just couldn't treat him like all the other players on the team at that time.
I think with me, you got to push them hard and make them compete. So they not getting no leeway in that. The lead may be how I decide to coach them. Now I can maybe get up in your grill and get after you. This one over here, I may have to, hey, listen, or I got a better example. Maybe the bench for this player, if I sit him down, gonna really get to him. But if I sit this other one down, it ain't gonna. He needs to be coddled a little bit more. Yeah.
What we were seeing with Dennis too, also his personality changed as he got older.
Facts.
It did, yeah.
A lot of the things that he was going through, we might not necessarily see it at this age. Whereas Dennis, he started to kind of transform when he got to the league and stuff like that.
But it goes back to, if you ever go back to the background of Dennis, and maybe Rashad will talk about it here in about 2 minutes, is that when Chuck Daly stopped coaching the Pistons, that's when Dennis kind of went berserk.
Haywire.
Yeah, he had to have somebody he believed in, who believed in him, to help him toe that line. And so that's why the 2 people that really got him to play his best basketball were Chuck Daly and Phil Jackson. Because Brian Hill sure did not in San Antonio.
Hey, look, man, if my man Dennis wanted to wear dresses, but he was getting them dubs and he was getting 20 rebounds a game, hey, put on that dress, my guy. Put on that dress.
Hey, I just think, man, when I look at that in my limited experience, you don't treat, as a coach, you don't treat everybody exactly the same. You treat everybody fairly.
Yes.
And you may have a kid that, hey, we're having a team function or a team outing, or we're doing this.
You're right, Bob.
And you may have to let that kid kind of float away from that. Maybe he needs that time away. As long as when you with us, you engaged and you going hard, like, based on, I've had some kids that have some anxiety disorders where you may not be all the way in the huddle, right? Like a kid may need to kind of stand outside of that a little bit.
I had a kid I coached who was pretty good, Division I athlete, who couldn't look you in his eye. He would look off to the side.
Everybody, got to treat them all fairly, but everybody is different. You got to understand the personality of the player. Phil did an amazing job with that. Fellas, we're going to shift and go back to talking about the Detroit Pistons.
Let's go.
And their leader, Isaiah Thomas, as we are joined by Rashad Phillips, everybody. Basketball analyst, Rashad Phillips, Sports Talk 2319. You got the big show, No Agendas, with Kendrick Perkins. Joining us to talk about
what's going on, man.
What's going on, Rashad?
How y'all doing? I appreciate you guys having me, man. For the love of the game, and I love it. I mean, I watch the show all the time. I'm following you guys on social media, and it's a breath of fresh air to see guys really chopping it up and talking about the game of basketball, man. I really appreciate the show, and thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, man.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you for coming on, giving us the time. Man, from one truly elite scorer to another, man. What is and I'm talking about between you and MJ, not between me and you. So.
Andre, I think we knew. We knew.
Yeah.
We knew we weren't talking about you, Andre.
We got a whole lot of first-time listeners, so I want to make sure ain't nobody got it twisted.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. I ain't got that kind. I ain't nice like that, bro. So, but between you and MJ, Rashad, two gifted scorers, man. Give us, man, your take on what it's like for you going back and watching MJ do work in The Last Dance.
It's for me, it took me back to my childhood because at that age, for me, my father, obviously being from Detroit, I was always the outcast kid in Detroit because I cheered for the Chicago Bulls. So I was one of those kids that came to school with the Chicago Bulls jacket, but everybody was rooting for the Pistons. But I just took a liking to Michael Jordan as a kid because he was such a great scorer. And I love that mentality. I was a great scorer as a kid, and I always appreciated watching great players go through adversity. I know it may sound weird, but for me, I like to see great players struggle at times. And it kind of taught me as a youngster how to get through tough times. And when I got to college and high school and I dealt with double and triple teams, I would always go back in my mind to when Michael Jordan had to face the Pistons and how he got knocked out of the air and all of that. And it was motivating for me. And that kind of helped me in my career in regards to, because I got a lot of boxing ones. I got 6'5" dudes guarding me. I got 6'8" dudes guarding me. I got double teams, triple teams, dudes follow me hard, breaking my ribs, knocking me down. And I always refer back to watching Michael Jordan. And so that's kind of how I can reflect on those moments.
Rashad, I've got to see how to word this question here. Were the Pistons a great reflection of Detroit because they felt that they were tough, hard-nosed? Because at that time, those casinos weren't in Detroit then like that. Like nobody had built Detroit up. No. So they felt like nobody's thinking about us. No. Let's take this hard head mentality and we're going to beat everybody down and we're going to win this thing. Is that why they were so loved by the city of Detroit?
Yeah, that's a great question, Coach. Coming from Detroit, it was just a hard hat city. We call it the home of the brave. And if you make it out, you're considered a hero. And I believe the Pistons as an organization took on that same type of identity. And that's why it resonated so much with, the city, the players, and it was just a great relationship. You look at a guy like Isaiah Thomas, who spearheaded that from the west side of Chicago, which is very similar to Detroit. So he was able to he had what I call a lot of that magnetism where he would attract his teammates to kind of follow that lead. And the city embraced it, and that's the way they played. I see a lot of stuff on social media. I don't really like the painting of the Pistons being a dirty team. And they don't get enough credit. They're getting painted as a bunch of dirty guys. And I grew up and watched the first quarter through the fourth quarter and watch the actual basketball game, these guys ran perfect sets. Isaiah Thomas was Chris Paul on steroids. Dennis Rodman, like these guys were basketball players first, and then they were physical.
And they also had guys that played their role, you know, from Joe Dumars to Microwave coming off the bench to whether it was Adrian Dantley to Mark McGuire to Lambeer, Mahorn, Sally, Rodman, Jane Buddha Edwards.
Great basketball players. Really great basketball players. Like I like to dig into the players. You look at Bill Lambeer, he was an All-American in college. Mark McGuire was an All-American at DePaul. Joe Dumars was fantastic at McNeese State. Dennis Rodman was an All-American in college. Like these guys were basketball players. Like I don't like that they're trying to paint them as they were like just brutal hockey guys. Like they didn't know how to play basketball. They just knew how to foul Jordan hard. That's completely untrue. That's not I don't like that image that they're painting of the Detroit Pistons. Those guys won back-to-back titles because they were a great basketball team, and Chuck Daly was a hell of a coach.
And let's be honest. I mean, we talk about the Jordan rules and coming down the middle, put him on his ass, but let's really be honest. What they talked about was don't let him go baseline, funnel him to the middle. If he's in the middle of the court, push him to the left. You know, if he's in a post, we're gonna trap from the top. To there was some good defensive strategies that's in there.
Defensive principles. And we're all basketball guys in here, so we do understand that there was rules to that. They just highlighted the hard fouls, but at the end of the day, as being a great scorer, I've faced defenses like that will point me opposite nail, that will point me this direction, send me to the help. I mean, you see that in today's game with great scorers, with James Harden and Steph Curry. Like you're trying to defend these guys. But the Pistons had the makeup of a guy like a Rick Mahorn, who was a physical guy, kind of like a Charles Oakley. So he was playing up to his strengths, and it kind of just trickled down to the rest of the guys.
Facts.
Man, let's talk about the head of that machine, the Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas. Can you imagine a better leader for that team than Isaiah Thomas? What was his presence like to you during that time?
No, when you look at the makeup and the DNA of Isaiah Thomas, it started at an early age, high school, and then he took that same type of mentality to Indiana, where he won a national title. So you look at Isaiah's background and where he comes from. He's always been a leader, I just truly believe that Isaiah Thomas is the main reason why Michael Jordan started to really.
I think we're having some technical issues with Rashad. We're going to try to get him back here in just a second for that breakdown on Isaiah Thomas. I think we were ready to get into that bag a little bit, but I agree. I mean, people don't really, and I take it back. Maybe sometimes I give Detroit a bad rap as to the strategy that their coach decided to deploy, but
they're down 2-1. I mean, they're down 2-1, man. Like, you got to figure something out.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is crazy. They deployed that strategy, though, before they were down 2-1.
They did, but it didn't, I mean, they didn't really take effect till they realized, okay, this dude done put them on their back, and we down 2-1. Okay, what are we about to do? We got to take this thing to another level. You know, but he's absolutely right. Like, that team was good. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is one of the best point guards to ever play the game.
ever touch a
Joe Dumars on both ends of the floor. You know, the way Rodman was able to play. You know, people don't understand. Bill Laimbeer was one of the first dudes in this new school era where the big could pick and pop. And people don't realize that, you know, about Bill Laimbeer.
Stretch 4, stretch 5, one of the first. Yeah, for sure. We got Rashad back. My man. Let's go back to Isaiah, man. You were talking about the DNA of a guy like Isaiah Thomas and what he meant to Detroit as a city and that franchise.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Isaiah Thomas, he's always had the DNA of a winner, and he did it at the college level. And once he got to Detroit, he pretty much just changed the entire identity of the city with his style of play. Isaiah was reminiscent of Tiny Archibald. A lot of people don't know Tiny Archibald led the NBA in scoring and assists one season. Nobody's ever done that before. He was one of those type guys at the time, and Isaiah Thomas brought that type of flavor, and the city embraced him. And I said this, I truly believe that Isaiah Thomas is the main reason why Michael Jordan started to value championships over his own statistics. I think Jordan started to say, you know what, man, the Magic, Bird, and Isaiah are getting identified as champions, and I'm only getting identified as a high wire act. And over time, as we saw tonight, we saw this. He pretty much alluded to that I need to start focusing more on hitting the weight room and making my teammates better and playing tougher. That's because that was the Isaiah Thomas effect. That was the Isaiah Thomas effect. And look, I'm a Michael Jordan fan. Michael Jordan is my GOAT. He's my #1 player ever, and I'll die on that hill. But you got to call a spade, and Isaiah Thomas, to me, is the reason why Michael Jordan was obsessed with winning.
Let me ask this, Rashad. We talk a lot about MJ and comparing him to either LeBron or to Kobe, God rest the dead, and saying, will we ever see another MJ? I'm not sure we've ever seen another Isaiah Thomas. What's your thought on that?
The closest thing to Isaiah Thomas that we're going to get is Chris Paul. That's the closest thing we're going to get.
See that? Good comparison.
Paul plays with a lot of tenacity, a lot of leadership, a lot of dog.
I think we got another delay. I think I do agree though with that respect to Chris Paul. I don't know if Chris is going to get over the hump and get a championship like Isaiah Thomas, but I agree, probably the closest thing that I've ever seen to it. I think the NBA probably robbed Chris Paul of his championship when that trade did not go through, sending him to the Lakers to go play with Kobe. He probably got robbed out of that title. Before we get out of here, Rashad, just any thoughts from you on what we're gonna see? We lost Rashad there.
No, what kind of band will Rashad? I'm over here trying to listen.
So he was dropping some knowledge.
He definitely Rashad always drop gems on us, man. But that's great. Yeah, there we go.
I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize.
All good, bro. All good. All good.
Always somebody bandwidth.
Hey, comment. Look, hey, man, my Wi-Fi been working today, man.
Hey, so Rashad, before we get out of here, man, I did want to ask you. They showed us a flash of the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz before season 4 or before episode 4 ended. Just any thoughts on that team from you and what you felt like that series was like as MJ did battle with John Stockton and Karl Malone and Brian Russell and those guys?
I thought that it kind of hurts me because I go back in that time and just I know how great Utah team was. They played together. But what I get out of all of this is that Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls were cheated out of maybe 2 or 3 more titles because of upper management. So I love the Bill Russell 11 rings, but I do believe in my heart that the Bulls had 2 more championships in them that would have put Jordan at around maybe 8, 9, and he retired at one time. So I just think Jordan was really close to 9 titles.
Now, do you think those happened in the 2 years he's playing baseball, or even after the '98 season?
I think they beat the Houston Rocket team, Coach. I think they beat that Houston Rocket team. I do. I just think Michael was so dynamic. I just think the Bulls would have won 3 more championships, guys. I truly believe that. You want to tone the show, guys? I really appreciate being on the show. I'm a huge supporter of what you guys are doing. Thanks for having me. I'll be back anytime, guys. But appreciate you all.
Appreciate you, man.
No doubt, brother. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you being on, taking time with us, man. Peace. Rashad Phillips, Sports Talk 2319. Boy done came up, man. Our boy Rashad done came up. Got the show with Kendrick Perkins. No agendas.
Yes,
Hey, man, I will go back. It was back in our heyday, if you remember, Mondre. He was spinning us facts about the NBA draft back then.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Man, Rashad, gotta show love to the early adopters. Was on Love of the Game podcast. Before the big blow up, before he started getting shows on Fox, man, he was down here kicking it with us, man. So, but no, man, much respect to Rashad. Glad he coming up, man. His come up has been amazing. His show, No Agendas with Kendrick Perkins, is dope. So, real happy for his come up, man, and definitely always straight facts.
Man, Locke, you need to get your boy, man.
Spivey? To my Spivey.
Said the 89 Cavs of the 2014 Hawks. Man,
Spivey disrespecting the Cavs, bro. Spivey disrespecting, but Spivey didn't get a chance to see Ron Harper before.
But see, and that's what I told him. I said, you got to go back and watch, man. Don't just, his comment was, the Cavs, who are their players? Like, you didn't ever watch one of their games, man. You don't know how good they were.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one but I mean the names, bro. Like, if you look at, you know who Mark Price is, right? Like,
he didn't. Obviously, he didn't.
He doesn't know who Mark Price is.
I mean, you gotta like
Brad Daugherty, right? You know who that is.
Probably don't know who them dudes are, man.
And then
I also gotta know who Brad Daugherty is, man.
I don't think he did.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Spivey 17 years old, man. 17 years old. Don't know who Brad Daugherty is. I'm not talking basketball with you no more, Spivey.
Hey, my boy, he says some ridiculous stuff, but he knows better.
Yeah, he does. I think he just be trying to get a reaction.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to stir the pot.
Yeah,
for sure.
Off the wall.
Hey,
they need to do a documentary when Michael Jordan went to go find Dennis Rodman in Vegas.
Hey man, Carmen Electra said, I hid on the couch with a blanket.
Hey, Dennis Rodman a GOAT. The party that much and play the next day and perform like that.
You saw they had to do Indian runs, and then my man was winning.
Bro.
The Indian run, I hate doing Indian runs.
Hey man, Indian runs are the best, especially after a break. They the best.
Hey, not if you run it. My man.
As a coach to get the big shape.
The player. That's the worst shit ever. My man came back from Vegas and was four laps ahead of him.
Hey, but we talked about as a coach, what would make a coach give a player that type of leeway is when I give you that type of leeway and you come back and you give me that.
Yep.
You miss a couple practices to handle some family or something. You could come back and you can give me that.
Nobody was speaking. Nobody know how many women were actually in the room. I wish Carmen Electra would have given us a little bit more on that.
Hey, Coach Maxwell asking specifics about how many women was in Rodman's bed. Hey, listen, we talked about dirty macking earlier in the show, Coach, and dry snitching. And MJ has done a lot of dry snitching in the first 4 episodes of this documentary, my boy.
He did. He really
MJ been dry snitching, dog. Talking about people doing lines and who was drinking and who. Oh man, the whole team was in there.
The whole team
but I left, not me. I left.
Oh man,
MJ been dry snitching for 4 episodes, my boy.
Hey, y'all missing the fact of what he did to Scottie Burrell.
Oh yeah, when he said about his drinking and all that.
Yeah.
We got to fight then.
Tell him, bro, parent. He
said, "Hey man, can you not say this, please?"
Hey man, dude talking about, hey, my parents might watch this. Hey, mom, dad, your son's an alcoholic.
Right?
You don't think so? You guys don't think that Mike was partaking in any of this?
Yeah, bro. Come on, man.
I mean, he had to be.
Hey man, I saw a comment that said, "Y'all act like y'all didn't know it was in that glass next to him when he was giving these interviews on this documentary." Hey, what's in the glass? What's in the glass, Rice?
Facts. That Brown.
He had Mike good time, man.
Mike know he a legend in 3 games.
Mike had nights in Atlantic Station, man. Come on now.
Mike's a legend in 2 games like Pee Wee
Atlantic Station.
I mean, not Atlantic Station. You know what I mean?
Atlantic City.
Yeah, Atlantic City.
I'm like Atlantic Station.
He might have had some nights in the gold room.
Hey,
you know what I'm thinking of? I was thinking you were saying Central Station. I said, I know Mike.
Come on.
Hey, what's the hotel in downtown Atlanta across from where the Hawks play?
Mike probably got a few of them at the in Atlantic Station. And what's the hotel next to like you said, Andre?
Yeah, the name of the hotel that used to be their team hotel when they came in town to play.
The Omni Hotel, but the Atlantic Station wasn't built there, man.
Yeah, Mike had it popping in the Omni. What you mean?
Omni, yeah.
Mike had to fly in the Omni. What you talking about? Didn't he have to leave his room? That was MJ.
You know what time it is when he come to the A or DC?
Good question. No. No.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna tell you something interesting.
They wouldn't allow that to be played in this day.
And that's my point, Bryce.
They don't allow you to play like that no more.
I think we default to calling players soft when it's us that overreacts a lot of times to physical play. I think if the kids could play physical and could actually respond to physicality, then I think they would adjust to it. I think it's the fact that they can't respond to physicality.
I think kids are like Madre said. I think kids are tougher than we give them credit for. But we're adults. We're worried about situations that we don't want to be put into, so we don't allow that to even pop off to where the physical nature of a game will get to that point. Like,
let a fight break out at a high school game and watch how people act, bro. Somebody going home in handcuffs.
We saw
one at an AAU game. Not only
that.
I don't know if I call that a fight though.
That was a win. We saw the Kansas State and the Kansas fight in college basketball. What that turned into, even that wasn't like the last.
But none of those were based because of how they used to play in the 80s, though.
We saw Xavier get in a brawl against Cincinnati.
But was that because of how they played? Like, a lot of that was because somebody said the wrong thing or one person might have did. So I'm talking about, like, you getting fouled to the floor every time.
They don't play like that.
I think that, and I think this is a perfect point because we got, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Helena in the comments asking, LeBron James can handle it physically, but not mentally. I think he could if he could respond. Y'all got to
So
LeBron played in that time, he's bigger than Moses Malone. If he could respond, he killed MJ at 200 pounds if he fouled him like that.
But y'all not understanding. Even MJ and them said they didn't turn the corner until they stopped responding. Until it didn't mean nothing when they got hit.
Well, this is my thing though, Huff. When I say respond, I'm saying if I can put you on your butt just like you put me on mine, right? If that's the way we gonna play the game, if LeBron could play the game that way, I think he'd be fine.
And then you just go get a Lance Stevenson on your team, and you let him do your dirty work.
Somebody's gonna go with you. I mean,
that's all you need.
Yeah, I think Coach Maxwell said it best. If an offensive player falls hard, it's a tech. Like, I just don't think. I think we so. I think they so worried about the malice and the palace happen again that we've whistled all. Referees won't even let kids talk trash.
What's the most
it gets on my
so terrible. It's so terrible. You can't talk trash.
Series we've seen like in the last couple of years. I can't even really think of one. It was like,
I think it was Boston, Miami, or Boston, Cleveland. Maybe one of them.
Or even when LeBron came back and he had to beat Golden State, but that wasn't even really.
That won the NBA Finals.
I don't think that was that. Like, I'm going back. Cleveland went before LeBron left for Miami when he had to play Washington and when he ended up losing to Boston. Like, to me, those series was kind of physical. Yeah. Miami was a good defensive team. Though any finals they were in was pretty physical to me.
Yeah. Actually, I may go back to when LeBron beat the Pistons after they had won the championship. That might be the last time I really think it was physical.
And those Pistons teams were physical with Ben Wallace.
I'm gonna say this. Where do we rank? We just watched MJ's performance against the Pistons.
Oh, that was a hell of a performance, bro.
Performance against the Pistons. Who you got?
I'm not comparing. They both were hell of a performance, man. I'm not.
Great performance. I mean, like, I'm blessed to say
he scored the last 20. What was the last 25 of the game?
26.
26. I mean, come on, man.
Last 26 of the contest against, again, Jordan facing the best defensive team of his time, LeBron doing it against the best defensive team of his time. I'm feel like I'm blessed to say that I was alive to actually watch both live.
Facts.
Bless.
Man, we're not gonna talk about the music of the show this time, man. See, y'all want to talk.
The music was better on part 1 and 2.
Man, see, y'all sleeping on that. Y'all sleeping on Kumo D though. Y'all sleeping on Kumo D.
It was more music on 1 and 2.
I'm with you.
I'm not saying the music is. I'm just saying, but y'all. Number one, you're sleeping on Prince at the beginning.
No.
I call that.
And you sleeping on Big Pun.
Oh.
And then you sleeping on Kumo D. Man, you sleeping, Mondre.
I don't want to be a player on it. You right?
Yeah, come on, man.
Listen, right. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy the music on episodes 3 and 4. All I'm saying is, to me, it didn't rile me up the way that episodes 1 and 2
but maybe it's because you were so amped to see 1 and 2.
I don't know.
The music went exactly with the moment.
Why didn't the music go with the moment this time?
Huff making a good point. That Prince and
Prince, the songs of what was being played. Come on, man. That's sleeping on him, Mondre.
I don't like that. Don't put me in the mood of MJ killing people.
Thank you, Coach Maxwell. What about the Prince song on part 3? Thank you, Coach Maxwell.
I'm sorry. I have never went outside trying to be like Michael Jordan and heard Prince in my head. I've heard Rakim in my head though. I've heard Public Enemy in my head.
But
I've heard a lot of songs, but not Prince.
Dennis Rodman, weren't they?
Say it again, Bryce.
The Prince parts were for Dennis Rodman, weren't they? They weren't for Mike.
Perfect. Come on, man. Kumo D, after they beat the Pistons, come on, you got to be kidding me, man. That didn't go perfect with that. You kidding me, Andre?
I'm straight.
Man, come on, man.
Yeah, they slipped me some mid on the music.
Man, whatever. Man.
Episode 3 and 4 was some mid.
So basically, you were like Teddy Riley trying to give you the club songs in part 1 and 2. And here go Babyface giving you the love songs. That's what
Facts. Episodes 3 and 4, the music was some mid. I'm saying, bro. I'm just saying.
That shit was smoking.
Hey, so Huff, I know what other smoking question I want to ask you, bro.
All right.
A couple of times now, you've walked into a new situation with a new team, with players or a player that ended up being high level Division I. You walked into St. Francis, you end up with 3 NBA players.
Well, I was there before they got there, so let's
for sure. I'm just saying that,
okay.
You've been in that situation where the players or yourself were new to the situation.
Okay.
And we went back and we touched on systems a little bit, right? We talked about MJ taking a year to adjust to the triangle. Through that year, there's ups and downs. How do you get your players to give you a year and to buy in? What do we think Phil is saying in the locker room to those guys? Because the triangle, like you said, it's a lot of reads. That's not working perfectly every night.
Just believe in it
every night.
They got to believe in the process, man. So he's got to be breaking down film. He's got to be doing a lot of things where they can see the end result. You know, they got to be able to see that end result and why it's going to work. So even back then, you're talking about why. You know, a lot of times we think it's just the players now. They need to know why they got to do something. Back then, they would probably have to see why. Well, why is this going to work? How is this going to make me better? And so they could see that it will improve them. That's why Mike believed in it. It wasn't just let's ISO Mike and see what he going to give us. It was like, let's involve these other people and make them better players.
Is that decision what made, do we think Scottie Pippen is a top 50 player of all time without that happening? If Doug Collins continues to coach the Bulls?
Man, the proof is in the pudding. I think he may have said, or somebody said it, when that system took off, that was the evolution of that word, point forward. He was able to be open, bring the ball up the floor, do more things that allow him to use his creativity. And he exploded. First year Phil Jackson gets the job, he's an all-star, bro.
So we've seen this situation play out before. Steve Kerr, I don't think was an assistant coach. He wasn't an assistant coach on Mark Jackson's staff, but Steve Kerr comes in for Golden State and they take off and become a dynasty. Do we see these as similar things? Like, do we think that Doug Collins wouldn't have been able to get it done? I mean, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe they lose one more time to Detroit and then figure out how to get over the hump as well. Do we think, or that was just something we feel like was needed for them to get there?
Sometimes it's all about fit. Sometimes it's all about timing. I mean, think about it. Was the timing right for Eric Spoelstra when LeBron and them come in?
Right.
I mean, you just got all of that matters, man. Timing, maturity, confidence, right fit. Like, it was a right fit for Steve Kerr with the Warriors. As much as I'm one of those people, I want Mark Jackson to get another shot.
I think that was a good question that just got posted. That if I've wondered if the Bulls would have had Jackson and his style changes that he brought in, they might have reached the final sooner.
Very much so. Could have happened.
Could now let's ask this question. Let's say that did happen and they get to the final sooner. Could they have beaten Magic Johnson's Lakers pre HIV announcement?
They did beat them pre. 91 was before Magic got the HIV announcement.
Really?
Yeah, that HIV announcement came after that season.
I thought the season that they won was after Magic came back.
No, sir.
I didn't know Vlade Divac.
Yes, Vlade Divac. Sam Perkins was on that team. Eldon Campbell was on that team. Like, so you got to realize, like, shoot, the year before, when the Detroit wins the second, their second of their back-to-back, they don't even beat the Lakers that year. They beat the Blazers. And we keep talking about the Blazers weren't that good of a team. Okay, whatever y'all say.
Okay. So, Huff, you think that if Phil Jackson is there and they get the triangle in place, that
it's possible. I'm not going to say it would have happened, because I do think you have to go through a progression, to beat certain people. And when the Bulls beat the Lakers, they were a younger, more hungrier team. You got to think about it. It was Magic, Byron, James, Sam. Vlade was young. Eldon Campbell was kind of young, but you're talking about four guys who were up there. And you got, Mike and them was still kind of young, in NBA terms, Mike. And because you got to realize, when you get into the finals and deep in the playoffs all them time, that's a lot of wear and tear on your body.
For sure. As we start to wind down, man, I wanted to throw out something that really never gets discussed. We don't talk about the fact that Steve Kerr and Ron Harper both played for Cleveland as much.
Steve Kerr played for Cleveland?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
Wow. I didn't know
that. Learn something new every day.
So is that the team he got drafted on, or?
Yeah, he got drafted. He was a Cav.
Wow.
Yeah. And then went to Chicago.
There was some interesting trades that were going on. We had.
Well, he actually got drafted by Phoenix,
and then traded.
Yeah.
To me, that player movement part doesn't get talked about a whole lot when it comes to when it comes to the Bulls, right? And
the first two runs are totally different teams.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, Dennis for Horace, Kerr for Paxton, Ron Harper for B.J. Armstrong. I mean, we could, Luke Longley for Bill Cartwright.
We did get the Armstrong interview tonight.
So we got Horace. Hey, man, did y'all know Steve Kerr only started 30 games in his career?
I did not know that.
Dang.
Played his role.
Speaking of Steve Kerr.
That's a lot of NBA checks to only start 30 games.
Never averaged over 8.6 points a game.
But he knocked that shot down when you put him in the corner.
But got championships with the Bulls and the Spurs. Know your role, fellas.
And I was about to say, and played a pivotal role even with the Spurs, man, in the playoffs. Man, he knocked down a lot of shots in the finals for the Spurs too.
His last season at 37 years old, he played 75 games, man.
Oh.
So he's a
championship DNA. Does that? And I want to close with this. Does winning change people?
Yes,
of course.
And how so? Let's talk about pros and cons.
Get more cocky.
You're arrogant. You're confident. You walk different. You talk different.
People view you different.
Yeah.
Is there a such thing as knowing how to win, or is that something that we just say?
Yes. You know how to win. Once you get over the hump.
But you can also get complacent.
Yeah.
So that's a con. You can get complacent. Some people can get complacent.
What's a season like after you win a championship? How much harder? Like, we talk about these Bulls teams, they won 3. How much harder is it mentally?
That's the part I never got. I went to college after we won. Even, so that's the part Sherman White talks about all the time. That's the most difficult part. It's trying to win after you won one. Because is the hunger still there? Is the drive still there? Do they feel they can turn it on and off?
Sometimes when you win one, you're like, dang, I did it. Now I'm trying to win too, because I like that feeling. I like that ring. I like that state championship, whatever it is. I like the NBA championship. I got to do it again. Like, I think it becomes addicting. Like, winning becomes addicting.
Yes, it does.
Like, you want to win, and they were winning.
I think that's one thing that I'm gonna miss about not having the NBA this season. I wanted to see who was gonna win the mental battle.
Yeah,
because we had some champions. But we had some champions out west that knew how to win. Kawhi was one of those guys that has established this championship DNA.
Like I actually thought this was going to be one of the most interesting NBA playoffs that we've had in a while.
Would have been a good, yeah. It would be good.
It would have been a really good year.
I agree.
I still think LeBron's winning that West and cruising through the East.
You know, it's crazy. So the Bulls' second run. I know we're trying to close out the show. Do y'all remember the East back then, other than the Knicks?
You had Orlando Magic.
Okay. And
is it bad that I remember what the East was like in the first round?
Atlanta was in there. Yeah, Atlanta was in there.
I remember the Milwaukee's and those guys more.
That was the first. That was the first round. The second
I remember
round,
the first round more.
They mentioned it a little bit, and I thought about it because me and Spy were going back and forth, and I told him LeBron, the East when LeBron was there sometimes wasn't as good, and it made me start thinking about that second Bulls run. And okay, you had the 2 years where the Magic were good. You had the Knicks at the very end. And I mean, Atlanta couldn't get past them with Dikembe and Leitner and Steve Smith and Mookie Blaylock. Who else was in the East?
The Nets were babies.
Yeah. So
now, if Drazen and Petrovic doesn't pass away,
different. Could be different.
We have a different Nets team. Drazen was a nightmare. Do your Googles if you wondering what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not Google him.
Yeah, he was on that Blazers team before he got to the Nets now.
Doing work.
Right.
Is this around the time that Sabonis was on the Blazers?
Nah, Sabonis is more with the Lakers team. Yeah,
late 90s.
He's more versus Shaq. He's on that Blazers team that didn't win. But with Rasheed Wallace and Steve Smith and Scottie Pippen.
By the time he got here, he was older.
Yeah.
He was much older. If he would have got here in his heyday, he would have set it off.
Oh, yeah. He was off the chain.
He would have set it off.
You good.
Yeah, he was a joker before there was a joker with Denver.
So we close it down, man. I just want to talk about the adversity. We see MJ holding the trophy, letting out that emotion, celebrating because of, having gone through everything that he went through to get the job done. And we talk about how that kind of prepares guys and propels guys, and they know, you know what I mean, how to win. What do we think it was tougher? You would think it was tougher mentally the first time or the second time that they did the three-peat?
I think the first one.
I feel like they had more talent the second time. I'm gonna be honest.
I think it's always harder to win the first time, though.
Harder to win, but I think both of them had its equal hardships. Like that, this season that they're talking about, the Last Dance, they went through a lot, bro. Pippen,
went through a lot, yeah.
I mean, we haven't. There's gonna be some more stuff that's gonna come out. That was hard, bro. When this is it, like,
yeah.
And if we don't get it done, if this is it, we're gonna go down as we lost the last time we played together. We didn't get it done. And if you're a competitor, that ain't what you want to go out as, right? I think both are equally as hard, Andre.
That they did show that clip of his dad when he won too, which caught my attention too.
That's fact. Yeah. That's facts. That comment that just came in, Harder was first to win, second three-peat without his dad was another type of challenge. Exactly. That's why I said they both have it. They both are equally in different ways as hard. But to finally get over that hump of Detroit, man,
tough. Yeah,
I think there's something to be said for that, man. I think we always talk about, and Huff, you always say it's so hard to win a championship. It's so hard to win a championship. And we always talk about, we end up arguing over the things that happen on the floor, lineups and all that stuff, but we never talk about the off the floor stuff that's going on around the team and how that impacts certain teams and your ability to win. So I think that's something we're going to see coming up.
You know what else?
Next, brothers.
Yeah, but you know what else they talked about, which I think they only gave you that small snippet of when, was it Bill Winnington or Will Perdue said, we never saw that side of Mike till they won a championship, of him really opening up and giving us a different type of emotion. That goes back to what you just said, Mondre, of how hard it is to win. Now you realize you just got done what may have been the hardest thing in your life right there.
No doubt. No doubt. Up next, episodes 5 and 6, it looks like we're going to get the Utah Jazz. And to be honest, this is the series that I like the least, only because I hated Karl Malone. Anybody else going to join me on hating on Karl Malone?
Hey,
so do you think they're just going to jump to the Jazz first? See, I don't know.
Somebody from Karl Malone's Twitter page, follow me, some Karl Malone car dealership. He needs to unfollow me. I'm not supporting the Utah Jazz movement.
Hey man, I wasn't the biggest Utah Jazz fan. I respected what Karl and John Stockton did, but it kind of goes back to me. I respected Larry Bird. I think he's one of the greatest players ever, but I wasn't a Boston Celtics fan either, bro.
I wasn't either. That's our show, fellas. Episodes 3 and 4, I think were really great. I think this documentary is something that the basketball community needed. I do appreciate ESPN for pushing it up for us.
Yep.
I think the basketball community is elated. It's something we need to get us through the times that we in for sure. And just for the culture, man, we need MJ Doc for the culture. Could have been 20 episodes, I think.
Fact.
Yeah.
You know, we need to do more of this stuff. I hope ESPN is encouraged to do more of this stuff, man. I think we all kind of know, like, the ideas and stuff we have for the next docs we want to see. We want to see this for all of our greats be celebrated in this way. And I hope we got a chance to see Isaiah and Magic piece it up for the culture. I want to see MJ and Isaiah piece it up, man. It's over. Y'all had y'all battle. You know, the look on MJ's face today, it kind of made me sad, man. Like, MJ, come on, bro.
He still felt disrespected. He still felt disrespected, man.
And I'm not gonna put it all on MJ. I like Isaiah, you know, like seeing Isaiah and Magic crying and piecing it up. Like I had tears in my eyes, man. Like I want to see that connected, bro. Like there's a gap in the culture to me until they kind of piece it up. Jalen Rose, Chris Rebel, y'all up next. Piece it up. Don't make no sense. Piece it up, bro. Piece it up. Fellas, any closing thoughts from you guys?
Man.
What are we gonna see in the next 2 episodes? What y'all thinking?
That Byron,
you're gonna see Kobe on the next episode.
That Byron Russell push off.
See, now I think they're gonna spend more time on 92, 93. And the fact that today, from what I heard, they're gonna talk about, are there gambling issues? What happened with his dad? 5 and 6 would be a great episode right in the middle.
Yeah, they got
to put it right there.
They got to,
because it's the middle of everything.
I hope we do get that.
That sounds right.
You know, I hope we get some Barkley and his relationship with MJ.
Yep.
And the Phoenix series, which was my favorite series.
I hope we get some trash talking. Like people talk about how great a trash talker is.
That's Thunder Dan Marley. That's Thunder Dan Marley.
Yeah, that's Thunder Dan. That's Danny Ainge. That's Oliver Miller. Cedric Sabalas.
I hope we get some Reggie Miller, man. I don't want to go out here without
Reggie crossed him. Y'all act like y'all didn't see that part where Reggie crossed him in that.
Gotta get some Reggie and some Spike, man.
We got to.
Reggie told that man, Reggie, man.
Straight killer.
They got to fight. Y'all do know that, right? Yeah, Reggie and Mike got to fight. Pull it up when y'all get off the show.
Yeah. As they should have in that series, and I was happy to see it. But no, Reggie doesn't get the credit that he's due for leading the teams in the way he did. But
because he didn't win a title. You realize these people that don't win a title never get the respect they did. And somebody put it frank. MJ cost all these dudes a chance to get a title.
100%.
Barkley, Reggie, Patrick, Dominique. He wouldn't let nobody. He wouldn't let nobody get that ring.
He'd go for that.
No doubt. Hey man, until next week, next Sunday at 11:05. Join us, like, subscribe to SUVtv. subscribe to the channel, like it, turn your notifications on. That way, just in case you forget 11:05, you'll get a notification that we are on air doing our live reaction to The Last Dance as we celebrate one of the greatest of all time. We celebrate MJ and we celebrate the culture of our game. Also, check us out on the Love of the Game podcast. Go to the Love of the Game podcast YouTube channel if you kind of like our banter and if you laughed at my jokes, you got to follow the Love of the Game YouTube channel and subscribe and like that channel. Turn your notifications on as well, man. SUVtv is the platform. It's the Love of the Game podcast, and we out.